Hi, and welcome to TV My Husband Hates. I'm Cat Sims.
And I'm Reagan Kempton.
And we are reality TV addicts.
Addicts, aficionados.
Ooh, I like that. Experts. Basically, we know our shit when it comes to reality TV.
100%.
Hey everyone, it's Cat and Reagan from TV My Husband Hates. We're back for another episode. How you doing, Reagan?
I'm good. We are back at full whack. I totally forgot what it's like to watch and take notes over 4 shows during a week.
Man, I realized last night, and I was like, it was like 9:30. I was like, I'm going to watch 3 goddamn shows.
Three goddamn shows.
Did it, loved it. I'm glad to have more shows back, actually.
Yeah, I think it's going to round out our chat a lot better, and you'll be back to kind of full-length episodes. So, hope that's all right with you guys.
Not that we can't bang on about just 2 episodes as well. Do you know what I mean? We managed to fill episodes with just 2 shows, but we are back with a full complement. So hopefully we'll be able to, edit appropriately and get it in under 3.5 hours.
Absolutely. Really quick, just kind of reminders corner. If you guys can take a moment and rate and review us, we'd love it. We got a couple of reviews in from the last couple of weeks, which have been fabulous. So if you guys want to help us spread the word about TV My Husband Hates, rating and reviewing is absolutely the best way, and it's free. So just hop on iTunes and, write us up, big us up so people know who we are.
Absolutely. Well done. Well remembered. We never remember to do that at the top of the show, but it always works really well when we do. And, of course, there is Patreon, but don't worry, there'll be a little sexy advert coming up somewhere between show 1 and 2. Speaking of which, Reagan, we should have had this in the pre-prod chat, but Jimmy's requested that we actually do a big silence between the 2 shows, just so that he knows. Got it.
Thanks for the reminder.
We're not allowed to chat, apparently. I was told very clearly not to make any noise because he needs it for the visual side. He needs to visually see it. So I've been told, can you please not talk for a period of time between 2 shows? I was like, all right.
Excellent. Thank you, Jimmy. Jimmy, our fantastic producer of all things audio, and makes us sound brilliant. So we can do that for him.
Sorry, everyone, for having to listen to a little bit of in-house keeping, but I realised that I was going to get a serious bollocking if I forgot this week. So, I thought it was worth the risk. But we do have, as we mentioned, 4 full shows. So we are back with The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and New York City. And, of course, we've got our old faithful Below Deck Med that we're going to kick off with.
Absolutely. I'm glad the Housewives are back. I think it gave me a lot to process this week. Also, really quickly, the date, we put it up on Instagram, but the date for the Shaw's reunion is the 19th of July here in the U.S. So that'll be the start of part 1. So we'll finally get to hear some resolutions, possibly, on this season of the Shaws. So I'm looking forward to that.
We do. While we're there, actually, we were just talking about this. We do have an interview with MJ. MJ actually spoke to us, which is amazing. I'm not joking. We both did massive happy dances. And in fact, she actually, we've been asking her for a little while, hadn't we? And then I was like, do you know what? And I'd had probably a bottle of wine. I was like, I'm just going to voice note her.
Why not?
What could possibly go wrong? I swear to God, I probably spent 15 minutes rehearsing. I might have even written it down. In fact, I definitely wrote it down. Anyway, after that, she sent us answers to, I think, 3 or 4 questions that we asked her. So we're going to be writing that up and putting that on Patreon in the first instance. I'm sure it will eventually go onto the blog. But if you want to hear or read about our interview with MJ, then you're going to have to sign up to Patreon, I'm afraid.
That's right. You got to sign up, kick us a few bones.
That's all we need. Just a few bones. Just $3 bones a month. $5 bones would be better, and 10 we'd probably give you a blowy. So,
Not an expensive blowy, but a $10 blowy.
What can I say? Anyway, shall we get on with the job at hand?
Yes, let's get along with Below Deck Med.
And we picked up this week with the beach party bust, where I do feel kind of bad for these charter guests because, of course, the weather meant that they didn't leave the dock. And I think that's always going to be ultimately the most disappointing thing when you have spent whatever you have spent to be on the super yacht and you don't even sail an inch. I mean, that would be gutting. And then the beach parties are bust because they're not allowed structures or glass or anything like that. So, it's hard. But that being said, I really feel like both deck crew and interior crew bent over backwards to make this experience special for them.
This has been, I think, the best docking charter I've ever seen on any season of Below Decks, any of them. The poker night, the beach party, the tasting menu, like everybody was so fucking on point for this charter. Like they fucking nailed it. Like it is a bummer that you didn't get to sail, but they got to do the toys and like the toy island that they set up and a beach picnic. I do think they probably could have researched which beach would have allowed them to have alcohol and structures and maybe shuttled them there. But either way, I think they kicked ass.
I do too. And I think Kiko's 72 plate meal really made up for anything that could possibly have been considered a shortfall.
I mean, fuck me. That's more than a lot of small restaurants actually do on an evening.
Well, was it just me, or when they were doing that meal and everybody was mucking in and everybody was serving and everybody was washing up and everybody was doing all that stuff, I felt for one of the first times on Below Deck that this was a crew, excluding Pete to a certain extent, but even in this instance, he was mucking in. This was a crew that was really bonding and working as a team.
Hell yeah, it was fucking teamwork, man. Like, it's the only time I've ever seen everybody pitch in and do it kind of with a smile. Like, they were all happy to. They were all really working together to pull it out. It was impressive.
It really was. And I think, whatever Hannah says to camera, I think she's got to start appreciating Bugsy more. And she's kind of doing this, are we ever going to be friends? No. Will I trust that? No. Are we going to work together well? Sure. And I just think, Hannah, come on. Like, that was a big test. And you all nailed it. And that has to be in some part down to the fact that you've got a really experienced second stew who has chosen to put her ego as a first stew to one side to help her mate Sandy out. And I think Hannah needs to meet her a little more halfway.
Hell yeah, she needs to recognize. I mean, if you can imagine if they were doing this with Laura, what a shit show it would have been.
Oh, God, I can't even. It makes me want to vomit a little bit in my mouth that Pete's still texting her.
Oh, so gross. Like, come on. It's never going to go anywhere. I think Laura is still texting him for part of the show.
Of course she is. She's a thirsty bitch.
Yeah, it's gross, man.
And also, you knew each other for a hot minute. Like, as if this epic romance has emerged from a couple of days cleaning a fucking boat. Fuck off.
Especially with Creeper McCreeperson. I mean, the shit Pete was saying in this episode, like he's going to allow Malia to have control. Fuck right off.
Not only that, the way he is also interacting with Bugsy is definitely past creepy and into inappropriate at this point.
He's totally in the inappropriate stalker zone.
Yeah, and she is, thank God, she's like you can see her skin crawl every time he comes near her. And what's hilarious is that he genuinely thinks that she is flirting back.
And she's being so obviously unflirty. Like, she's calling out your creepy inappropriateness with a grimace on her face. Read the motherfucking room, dude.
I mean, she calls him batshit crazy. And he says, I'm going to undress her with my teeth. No, I'm going to do things to her. This is him talking about Lara.
Yeah.
And she said, like, what kind of things? He's like, just banging my stewardesses. I mean, the guy is... I can't even. He's just so disgusting.
Yeah, I think he's on the wrong boat. Like, he's not around other dudes that appreciate that disgusting chat and big it up. He needs to just stop, man. I have a feeling Pete will be gone before the end of the season.
I agree. I think it's going to come to a head because I don't think he's getting any validation from any other member of the crew. Nobody's backing him up on this. Everybody's starting to realize that he's just this disgusting spunk stain of a human. And I think Sandy is going to call it eventually because out of everybody on that boat, she is not going to tolerate this kind of misogyny.
No, and you can kind of see like that he's realizing that at the dinner. I think that's why he's pouting and being all sullen and weird at the dinner on their night out. Like, you have no friends or, fellow misogynists on this boat. You need to cut it out.
As well, isn't it? It's
Ugh.
like so emotionally retarded. I know that's not a great word, but it's the first one that came to mind.
Yeah.
But he is just so emotionally
Stunted.
immature, stunted,
Yeah.
that he's just sulking and, like you say, pouting like a toddler. And the reality is that if he just wasn't a dick, people might actually be having a great time.
Absolutely. I'd punch him in the face.
I'm surprised that Marlia's still got him as her lead deckhand. I'm surprised that she hasn't demoted him and made Alex her lead, because I think he would be a far stronger choice for that position.
Absolutely. Alex or Rob. I think either one of them should be the lead deckhand over Pete, because Pete is just making everybody creeped out, and he's just fucking rude to everybody.
Yeah.
Like when Malia was telling him he needed to go down and he was still washing dishes and just being a dick about that. It's just like, come on, man.
He just can't bear the thought of a woman having control over him. I mean, I think it would be difficult for him even if it was another guy in control, because I think he's used to running his own boats. But the fact that it's a woman is like a double sucker punch for him. And it's just bringing out the absolute worst in him. I don't like him on my TV. Frankly.
No, I don't either. He makes me cringe every time he comes on screen. And I keep thinking to myself, if this is him edited out, what the fuck are we not seeing?
Yeah, because, of course, Bravo said that due to the racist comments he'd made, that they were going to edit out his role. And you're right. Like, we're still seeing a lot of Pete. And I guess there's an element of that's natural, because he is the most controversial. He is the one that's causing the most drama. So it would be very hard for them to edit him out completely. But yeah, I mean, they did say they have, so God knows what we're not seeing.
Yeah, I love Alex, though. I love how Alex, when he's chatting with Bugsy, is like, I will have a word with him. You just let me know. And I almost think, like, that's great. But also, Alex, just have a word with him, because you've seen him be a creepy fucker to everybody. Stand up to him. Well, I think that would gain you loads of respect on the boat.
But it's like everything, right? It's like this lesson that we've kind of recently learned about being anti-racist. It's not enough to just say, oh, I don't agree with misogyny. I'm not misogynistic. I'm not a sexist. You have to, when you see that shit happening, you have to start talking up and speaking out. And I think that's what Alex and Rob should be doing. And I'm not blaming them, because it's all very difficult and it's a hard dynamic, and, they have to figure that shit out by themselves. But I really hope that they do start calling him out on his shit in a way that really makes him question what he's doing.
Agreed. Again, like, I just think of his mom watching all of this and just being deeply fucking ashamed.
Me too. Poor Pete's mom.
Yeah.
We've also got a few budding romances on the boat. We've got, as we've mentioned, let's go to Alex and Bugs first, because this is the one that is newest. And I don't know whether it's going to happen or not.
I don't know either. Like, I could see it just being a boat flirtation, and they're just going to maintain this, like, fun flirtation for the boating season. But I also kind of hope it does happen. I really like Alex. I think he's a good dude. I just don't know if Bugsy wants anything serious with anyone on a boat. Like, she doesn't strike me as the girl that would.
No, she's also
have
really
a serious.
Professional.
Yeah.
So I think she's like, listen, I'm here to do a job, and I'm not going to let anything get in the way of that. But I'm with you. I like Alex. I like Alex for her, and he's growing on me. He gets cuter and cuter every episode.
Absolutely. I love that he doesn't, like, take her making fun of the cold water in the hot tub, like, too seriously. Like, I just think he handled that really well and didn't get, like, angry. Like, Pete would have freaked the fuck out had that happened to him, But, yeah, I like him. I like the way he is with Malia. I like that he's respectful to everybody. He's just there to have a good time and do his job. And I think that's really the whole point of the boat, right?
Exactly. So what do you reckon? Do you reckon yes to Bugsy and Alex? Do you reckon it's going to happen, or do you reckon no?
I want it to happen, but I don't think it will.
I think it will. There we
Okay.
go. One of us is going to be right, one of us is going to be wrong. Love that. Not competitive at all. And then, of course, the other romance is Rob and Jess. And this is starting to get a little bit more complicated than perhaps we thought it would at first.
Yeah, so I think in this episode, it's when his girlfriend posts a picture of him. he posts a picture in his stories that he misses his girlfriend. And then he later says they just have an open relationship, which both may be true, right? Like he may have missed her at that time and they may still have an open relationship. I think Rob definitely has issues that he needs to work through. I don't think he's probably ready to be seriously locked down with anyone. But saying that, I like him and Jess together. I like their flirtation and their tenderness because I think he's a tender dude.
He is. I think there is definitely a really sensitive side to him, and I agree. I do think, like, first of all, just to be clear, he posted this, I miss touching you or something, or miss your touch or something.
Yeah.
Before anything happened with him and Jess. And the only reason we know about this is because Hannah walked in with a big, massive wooden spoon and said, "Oh, Jess, you know that he posted about how much he missed his girlfriend?" Jess was like, "No, I didn't know that." Didn't tell her that it was, didn't make it clear, as far as we saw, that it was pre them hooking up. And just, I thought, she was like, "Oh, I'm just looking out for you." I don't buy it, Hannah. I've got to be honest. I think you were mixing.
Oh, 100% she was mixing. I mean, because she's not known Jess very long. Like, they're not best mates. I think, I kind of think Hannah always needs someone to be mad at or, like, degrading towards. Yeah. And so now that it's not, like, because Bugsy's being so helpful, Hannah hasn't turned her attention to that yet. So she has to kind of take it out on Jess. And, yeah, it was just I think it was wrong. Because I think a picture without context is hugely misleading. And
100%. And also, it's none of Hannah's business.
No.
Like, that is actually the point. Keep the fuck out. Stay in your lane. It's none of your business who he's sleeping with. That's between Jess and Rob. For all she knows, they could have had a conversation about this. She doesn't need to get involved.
No, and where the fuck do you have time to be Insta-stalking when you're on this, like, busy work time?
I know. Do some fucking work. Get off his Instagram. Why are you stalking his Instagram anyway?
Yeah, it's all a little bit weird.
I don't understand these people who just spend all day on Instagram. Anyway, we'll see. I'm here for Bugsy and Alex getting together. I reckon it's going to happen next week, so we'll see.
Yeah, so what did you think about the Hannah and Bugsy chat about mutual respect? Do you think it's going to stay, or do you think it's all going to fall apart?
I think there's a chance it might stay. But if it does, it's because Bugsy is going to be the bigger person, like she was during that chat. You know, she's like, "Listen, I'm your second stew. That's what it is." Hannah just needs to know that she's always in charge. And she wants constant reassurance from the people below her that she is the queen of this boat. And that is where her issues come from, that Bugsy can show her up to not be as good or not be the best or not be the leader. Bugsy has kind of said, "Look, it's not what I'm here for. I'm here to help out Sandy." And I think Hannah is a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, it kind of catches her off guard that there isn't any confrontation from Bugsy's side. And I think she's forced into kind of being amicable as well. But actually, I think she wanted kind of a fight. I think she wanted to use it as a chance to kind of reinforce her authority. And actually, Bugsy didn't let it happen. She just killed it. And I think if Bugsy keeps doing that, they'll get on okay. And I think Hannah will eventually just have to, concede. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, she can't really fight when one person isn't engaging, right? Like, you can't continually start problems because you're going to be kind of outed as the problem one, right? Like, if Bugsy's just professional and whatever, it's kind of upholding what Sandy said. Like, she's a professional. She's just here to do her job. Like, everything's all good. And my hope for Hannah is that it does just kind of all stay fine. So Hannah can show Sandy that she's kind of grown, but we'll see if that growth is actually there or not.
You know what? I just want Hannah to be able to go to Bugsy and say, "Listen, I really didn't want you on this boat, but I'm really pleased that you're here and you're killing it, and thank you for helping me." Like, that will make all of us look at Hannah and go, "She's really grown. She's fucking nailed it. She's super strong. Good on her." I don't think it's going to happen, but that is what needs to happen.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with you because I feel like we all know that she leaves her job at, like, this is her last season. So I wonder if she goes out and like just a ball of flames.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds more Hannah, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Let's move on to $1 Million Listing LA, and guess who's back? Back again. Freddie's back.
Freddie is back and comes bringing the heat and the dysfunction a little bit.
He is. But yes, before we get into $1 Million Listing LA, then just have a listen of this. And we're back. So we're here for $1 Million Listing LA this week, and Freddie's back.
Freddie's back, bringing the dysfunction and causing all sorts of problems, apparently, because he's decided to move to California.
I had to sort of sit and have a bit of a think about this, because I also had to go back to LA, to New York last season, which is where we saw this all happen at the very end of the last season.
Yeah.
And at first I was leaning towards being kind of Team Freddie, because it was really clear that at the end of last season of New York, he was really struggling with whether to leave New York. He didn't know whether they were going to be going over there permanently or whether they were just going to be buying a holiday house, because Derek really wanted to move. But Freddie is a New York guy, and he just wasn't sure. So at first I was like, you know what, I don't think he was deliberately obtuse with Josh, and I think he genuinely thought that perhaps he wasn't moving over full time. And then I sort of heard Josh's side of it, and the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know what, this isn't just about the business. I don't think Josh actually gives a shit about whether Frederick opens up a business in LA. I think on a friend level, Josh felt like Frederick should have spoken to him. And when I hear Josh talk about it, I actually ended up Team Josh.
I'm pretty firmly Team Josh on that as well. Like, Josh doesn't really need to be intimidated by Frederick. He is a very well-established real estate agent in his area and has his own style. That's not Frederick, right? So I think business-wise, he was always going to be fine. I don't necessarily think it's like a team situation. I think Frederick genuinely did not understand that he should have just told them when he decided, and that hearing from an email blast would piss them off as friends. Yeah. Because I think that's ultimately what Josh and Heather were saying. Like, look, we're friends. We would have been super excited for you to come out. We just didn't want to hear it from a fucking impersonal email blast in our workplace. We wanted to hear it from you guys.
And I think they're absolutely right. But the only thing I disagree with you on is that I do think Freddie understood perfectly. And I think this is Freddie's MO. Like, he knew what he'd done wrong. But rather than just cut out the dramatic bullshit in the middle, all that defensive shit, he did all that, did the crying and the standing up and the storming out, all of that, and then was like, no, of course you're right, I get it, sorry, I shouldn't have done it, and I'm really sorry. So I think he knew, and I think that's his defensive method, is to get a bit dramatic about the whole thing and then eventually cry and go, no, you're right, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Do you think it's defensive, or do you think it's because of the show? Like, he knew it was going to be featured on the show, so it was made a little bit, he reacted a little more dramatically to kind of start his story.
If it was anybody else except Freddie, if it was Josh Flagg, I would say yes. Mm-hmm. But I think Frederick is just that dramatic. I mean, we've seen it all the way through in everything, and I think, yes, he's definitely a showman. He is one of those characters that puts on a show. But I do genuinely think that even with Derek, this is probably how the disputes play out a little bit.
Right.
You know, when Frederick's wrong, they go through the whole dramatic rigmarole, and then eventually he goes, I'm really sorry. I think that's genuinely who he is.
Yeah.
And I think him and Alban will be fine.
Yeah.
I never have, and I am yet to warm to Heather.
Yeah, I mean, I think we don't see enough of her. I mean, obviously, when this show first started, she was, what's-his-name's assistant in Malibu, right? And so that caused a lot of drama. And we saw her more then, but I feel like since she and Josh have been together, her role in the show has been dramatically reduced to just kind of that of as wife and fellow real estate agent versus being kind of a player in the show.
Well, and she's got 2 young kids now as
Yeah.
well, so that's probably made a kind of a dent on her ability to do any fucking thing else.
Absolutely.
We've all been there, babe. But I didn't agree with the way that she relayed the confrontation that she had with Frederick to Josh. I don't think Frederick came for her. I do think he went up and said, why haven't I heard from you? But I feel like she made it sound like he attacked her when he asked, why haven't I heard from you? She went, why do you think we haven't heard from you? I think it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, as my mum would say.
Yeah, I don't really know who to believe because I feel like what we saw on the show was not like the full story. Like it wasn't long enough to be like really kind of the full interaction between the two of them. So I don't know. I mean, she's also 8 months pregnant and her hormones are raging, and we both have been there a couple times. And I feel like, while maybe it didn't go down exactly the way she said, I think that's the way she felt.
Yeah, fair
if that makes sense. So I think like that kind of conversation between you and your husband is probably pretty spot on. I probably would relay maybe a minor incident as a little bit more major based on how I was feeling. I don't know.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I hear you. And Freddie does push buttons, I guess. So it is what it is. But the big news of this week's episode was, just in case we didn't think Tracy Tutor was badass enough already, this week she goes fucking galactic badass.
Yeah.
She really is so impressive.
Holy shit, man. Like the way she wooed that developer was fucking spot on. Like her ability to read people and know what they want and deliver it is fucking phenomenal.
She played him like a fiddle, and he was gross. Like, he kind of grossed me out. I didn't like him at all. But she just got on with it and fucking nailed that pitch. And it's so cool to see a woman doing really well in business with no excuses, no, context, no kind of anything like that. Just showing, look, these are 2 guys doing it, and this is the girl doing it. And it's so heartwarming to see a woman portrayed this way. And she's not portrayed as a bitch. She's not portrayed as manipulative. She's lovely to her team. She's a great mum, and she's a kick-ass businesswoman. And you don't see that enough.
No, I totally agree with you. I love that Bravo and $1 Million Listing LA is highlighting this badass woman kicking ass at her job and not apologizing for it at all. Like just doing what needs to be done. Like she's just amazing.
She really is. So I'm excited to see how she takes on the Newcastle and the other bit as well. The whatever $500 million worth of
the Malibu series, which is so insane because while I feel like at the very beginning of the podcast, we were doing The Hills. And so we saw the Malibu fires in that season of The Hills. And so now we're kind of seeing the rebuild of Malibu from that. And it's just fucking incredible. I mean, the Newcastle was originally $75 million.
I mean,
what the fuck?
And I have to say, that's the first mega house I've seen where I was like, I fucking loved it. Like, I felt like I could see a family banging around in that. It was a great kitchen. It was a lovely big living room. I was like, you know what? There's not many of these mega houses that I actually think I'd live in. Like, they're impressive to look at. But this one, I thought, actually, it's beautiful. And I would happily have my family in this house.
It was super homey. For, like, a mega house, it was super homey. And I felt it was kind of cozy. Yeah. But I mean, the wine tasting room, I can totally get on board with.
Yeah, me too.
8,000 square feet of decking. Like, it's just incredible.
It did, and it looked beautiful. And like you say, it was luxury, but also livable. And you don't get that very often. Not in Razor House. Like, the Razor House is just a recipe for all sorts of fucking disaster. But this one, I was scrabbling down the back of the couch to see if I could, find a set 75 million. I didn't find one. But yeah, I was really, really impressed with it. So as much as I didn't warm to Scott Gillen, I did warm to his construction and design style.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to be a developer handling that amount of money and like that amount of funding or whatever, you're probably going to be a dick. It's kind of the same way I feel about surgeons. Like they're a little bit antisocial. They're not super people because they
Yeah.
have to be so focused to be fucking ace at their job. And I feel he's kind of the same way. Like but a little bit arrogant about it. Like he's definitely got like that developer arrogance. So, I mean, give it or not, I wouldn't hang out with the dude, but if I had the money, I'd probably definitely buy a house.
Yeah, I'd buy a house of him in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to see how she goes forward with this, how she sells it. I want to see her just sell them all in the first week and just, mic drop and fucking walk out.
Boom. I'll take my 10 million. Bye-bye.
Bye, and thank you.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, and I'm pleased to have Freddie back. I love him. He's always good value. And I think Frederick and Josh Altman will be a really great dynamic. So we'll see what fireworks he brings.
Yeah, I'd like to see Frederick and Flag kind of go against each other. I think that would be like a brilliant kind of drama-inducing relationship. So we'll see. Do we know if Frederick's definitely going to be on the show for the rest of the season, or was this just a little bit?
I think he's going to be. I feel like he is. I've read that he's now part of the show, but maybe not. Maybe I've just made that up in my own wishful thinking.
No, I think he'd be a great addition. I also, I hate to say this, but I also kind of like the shows where it's interesting to me that like Tracy wasn't on the last episode and David and James featured pretty heavily. And in this episode, David and James were nowhere, but like other than the weird MVP chat, which was ridiculous. And then Tracy was heavily featured. That,
the fact that they are British is absolutely not an excuse to not know what MVP means. Like, we know what MVP means. So for them to be so clueless, and not only that, for them to live in America for as long as they lived in America and still not know was baffling to me.
Yeah, I mean, living in Britain, I knew most people knew what it was, so that wasn't a question for me. But I think they were definitely playing it off as like, oh, we're British. We don't understand your Americanisms. And it's like, dude, come on. It's a pretty widely known thing in pretty much all sports across the world. I mean,
yes, I'm going to make a conscious effort to be nice about James and David because I haven't really been nice. So I'm going to try from now on to be nice about them. There you go.
Sounds good. Shall we roll into Beverly Hills?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
For a night of steaks and strippers, apparently.
I mean, what the actual fuck? What the actual fuck? I don't know what the fuck is going on. I mean, I know what's going on with Denise. We know what's about to come out. But I don't get how it's making the two of them behave like this. Because Aaron, I don't know, is absolutely batshit crazy.
Oh, yeah. And the way, like, Denise bangs on about him, like, he's treating people with cancer. We all need to be kind. I'm like, fuck right off.
He's not treating people with cancer. He's not saving lives. He's swindling rich people out of a ton of money to sell them woo-woo fucking put your hand in and burn it to 180 degrees fucking bullshit treatment. He's exploiting the sick, and it's wrong. They should be in hospital with a fucking doctor getting the fucking treatment that they need, not spending a gazillion pounds with that dickhead to sell them some vagina whispery fucking bullshit that isn't going to make a blind bit of fucking difference.
Preach it, sister. Like, he is so off base for me. Like, I'm not going to put a couple magnets on my tummy and fucking cure my bladder cancer. Like, fuck right off.
Really, it's such a pet peeve of mine, this exploitation of people with money with this kind of new age fucking medicine. And I'm not saying don't do it as well, but I think these doctors that poo-poo traditional medicine, like as we know Aaron does, because he talks about big pharma and how it's all for profit and it's all bullshit and they're actually causing cancer and all of that rubbish. I think people who really do that are so damaging. And actually some people I think genuinely suffer and die at the hands of these people who are just out to get a buck out of them. And it is so wrong.
Absolutely. It's exploitative, right? Because, I mean, if you've got cancer, you want to do nothing but cure yourself, you know? So especially if you go to doctors and they're like, well, this was kind of the last thing we could do. Like, it's all done. Like, I hate that opens the door to people to exploit those feelings and, like, the being scared of death.
He's a fucking charlatan. That's
Yeah.
what it is. Like, he's old school charlatan, and it's wrong, you know, and I just don't know what to do with these two. They storm out of this party, and then they say they're going for steak at a strip club. And it's okay because their kids aren't there and she can swear because the kids aren't there. But did anybody not notice the fucking cameras that are rolling and the fact that
Right.
I mean, it's so hypocritical. And then pretty sure that they bribed the driver at the end to keep him quiet.
I totally was just going to bring that up. And then bribe their Uber driver or whoever to, like, not talk about what they were talking about, even though there's a fucking camera in the car.
I literally wrote exactly the same thing. Who gives a shit if he talks about it? We've all just heard you.
Well, I mean, good for the Uber driver for, like, getting a massive tip. Yeah. I mean,
the fucking money, and then call TMZ and get them to pay you for the goss as well. Do it. I don't care.
Tell them which strip club you dropped them off at.
Yeah.
To have their steak, which I'll have to say, like, I'm not a negative person on strip clubs. Everybody do what they want, but I could not think of anything worse than, like, tucking into a really great steak with, like, half naked people gyrating around me, smelling of glittery body spray.
Oh god. It's like chowing into your beef while you're surrounded by beef curtains. It's just not. It's not the look. It's not. That's enough to make anybody's stomach turn.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I mean, they leave in a fiery ball of self-righteous glory, and then we get them back at Sutton's event.
Where they leave again.
But I just don't understand why Denise is shutting this conversation down. Like, I would get why if they were trying to bring up, what's her name?
Brandy.
I would get her trying to shut that shit down.
Yeah.
But this is just a disagreement that they've had, and the girls, she keeps storming out of places. The girls keep wanting to, like, talk about it and figure it out, and she just keeps shutting it down.
It's like, just fucking have the conversation and this would all be over. Stop bringing your husband as protection, because I feel like that's what she's doing. Like, no husband wants to go to some fucking jewelry trunk show. Like, that's ridiculous.
And Fat Lot fucking protects me as anyway. When she leaves him to go to the loo, he gets mauled by Erica. Thank God for that.
Thank God. Absolutely.
And even Teddy steps up a little bit, but only with Erica's backing. She wouldn't have done that otherwise. But Erica's like, no, it's not all right. We'll do this here and now. And he's like, I'll do it anywhere, up, down, all around. It's just like not doing a fucking hokey cokey. Just have a conversation and own that you were a cunt to them at that barbecue.
I think he kind of reminds me of Brett from Vanderpump Rules, where he probably sees himself as a feminist, but it's like he's a misogynist in feminist clothing, right? Like, he's all witchy woo woo and, like, is, you know, wants to take care of all the girls in his family and, like, support them and big them up. But he's a complete fucking misogynist when talking to women. The way he speaks to them is fucking gross.
I think it's a little bit like, you know, I think every man, no matter how open and forward-thinking they think they are, will have inherent biases that they either deal with really well and acknowledge and work through and are aware of, or they don't have any self-awareness and they genuinely think that they are, like, feminists, and actually they're just massive sexist pigs. And this is Aaron down to a T. And I mean, this relationship is so weird. I don't get it. But then, it kind of pains me to say it, but then you see him, like, teaching Sammy to drive, which, by the way, it still blows my mind that a 15-year-old can get behind a car. Like,
that's when you have to have your permit here, because you've got to have, like, a year of practice now before you get your license at 16.
I know, it's so weird. It's for us, because you can't even get your provisional driving license until you're 17 here. So most people aren't driving till they're 18. But anyway, so she's 15 behind this massive car. But you see him actually being super patient and a really good dad. And so I do see that side of him. But it's all cancelled out when I see him say and do everything else.
But they also don't challenge him, right? Like that's a normal role. That's a normal, typical role for him. Like he's the protector, and he's teaching. He's teaching these girls to drive, and like he's the one in control.
He's the boss. Yes, you're right.
Yeah. So I think that actually makes kind of perfect sense. Like that is his role, and that's the role Denise is happy to give him, and not to give Denise too much credit, but I would think after being married to someone like Charlie Sheen for so long and making it such a fucking mess to live with, that's probably who you want, right? You want somebody to kind of take over and just kind of help you make things okay. But I think the way he steps in with the other ladies is crossing the line. Like my husband's fairly traditional in the way that he thinks about some things. He would never fucking talk to my friends the way Aaron spoke to those women.
No, 100%. Not a chance. And I've had little tense chats with your husband, but not because of you and me, but because me and him have had like this where we're going chat. Just friendly, we're having a drink banter, but like
totally. Yeah.
But he wouldn't get involved on your behalf with me in any sense, and neither would Jimmy. I mean, they'd be off cracking a beer and watching the game. Like, they'd be necking back the shots and fighting, and they'd just be like, it'd be like the fucking Hunger Games to them. They'll just leave us to it and see which one comes out the end alive. That's how they'd approach this shit.
And they knew we'd be friends afterwards. Like, it's none of this, like, craziness. And I feel like if Denise would just fucking have the conversation with these girls, like, that's all they want, is to, like, have a closure conversation, and she won't fucking give it to them.
And I just don't know why. And I don't know whether there's something going on behind the scenes in terms of maybe some of the girls do know about Brandy at this point, and maybe that's simmering under the surface, and she doesn't want to get into any confrontation in case one of them blurts it out. I have no idea what is going on, but it is weird. And the Denise that we saw last season is so... I don't even recognize this woman.
No,
and I don't even recognize Aaron. Aaron last season looked totally normal and a really right-on dude. Now he's just... They're both completely batshit crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, that leads me to believe, obviously, something's going on within their relationship behind the scenes that maybe some people know about, and they're on, like, such lockdown damage control that they've actually gone insane.
Did you hear as well, sorry, just before we move on from Denise and Aaron, did you hear him again talk about the hand crushing thing? It's so weird. Because
you didn't catch that forever ago when that season actually aired, right?
So I saw it this time, but then later on in the other Sutton's event or something, he was like, "You stop fucking crushing my hand." And I was like, what is it with the hand crushing in this couple? It's weird.
Like very weird hand aggro going on.
Lots of hand aggro going on. I don't know how I feel about this.
No. Strange. Hand aggro is wrong.
Steaks, strippers, and hand crushing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was really the meat and bones of this whole episode. And obviously, next episode is episode 10, which is the one where Brandy comes back. And that looks explosive already.
Well, because it's at, like, Kyle's party, right? Like, the party Kyle was talking about this episode will be featured next episode, and Brandy is invited. So we shall see how that all goes.
I'm excited. I'm genuinely looking forward to that episode. I've been waiting months for this.
Right.
And we saw Kim again. Kim Richards came back for a little trip down to the plastic surgeons to inflate a busted boob. I mean, that's how they live in Beverly Hills. Yeah,
I think they were taking out her implants because, like, originally they got too big, which I'm sure is probably everybody's implant journey, where they go too big at first and then they get them taken out. Because I think we saw the same thing happen with Tamara on the OC. Like, the same thing did that. But I'm going to have to say...
Go on.
I hate talking about women's appearances, but Kim does not look good. Like, I feel like her lifestyle has finally caught up.
I agree. She does. I'm first of all, I'm going to preface this with I'm really pleased that her and Kyle are in a great place because, like Kyle says, when they are good, they are excellent together, and I'm sure that they're a huge support for each other. That being said, I have to agree she does not look well, and I don't know whether it's just that I don't know whether she just had really good glam and maybe like she just didn't bother this time. That's fine. All the rest, but it felt like quite shocking how unwell she looked.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I love seeing them when they're good together, because I feel like they're sisters, right? Like the goods are fucking awesome, the bads are pretty terrible. Maybe not normal sister relationships go that far terrible, but yeah, I just felt like she didn't look well. And I'm not like insinuating that she's drinking again or anything like that, but I just feel like, maybe her health has taken a turn for the worst. So
yeah, maybe. Well, we'll see. I hope that
Yeah.
she is okay. But like you say, it's good to see them happy and not fighting. But listen, the rest of this season, I have no doubt, is going to be taken up with the drama that we have all been waiting for.
Can't wait. It's going to be popcorn and wine night when the Real Housewives
really
of Beverly Hills comes on.
It really is. I am here for it. So let's jump over to the East Coast, where we are in the Berkshires. She's back. This Bluestone Manor has been restored beyond her former glory. And Dorinda is hosting the girls in the Berkshires. And I could be wrong, but if memory serves me right, this doesn't always go so well in the Berkshires.
No, I think the Berkshires are affectionately known as the Berserkers, and everybody kind of loses their shit. And I think I get it. Like, there's nothing really to do. Like, when they're in the Hamptons, they can go out to restaurants and things like that, but this house is really secluded. So when they're there, they're fucking there. So I think they get wasted and things go to shit.
Every time. We start off, Elise turns up with an agenda. She's pissed. I'm not that worried about Elise. I think she's sweet, but I don't think she's any kind of match for Dorinda. So as feisty as this is going to get, we all know it's going to fizzle out pretty quickly. And it kind of does. Like, I think Elise has a point. She definitely has a point. But I don't think we were ever under any illusion that she was really going to take Ramona to task.
No. And I think Dorinda and Sonia are a bit of shit stirrers with this whole like Elise thing as well. Like, they're definitely playing both sides of it. And I think just to see like somebody else fight with Ramona, because Ramona's making her way through everybody.
Yeah, she's pissed them all off. And I think you're absolutely right. They're just here for the pylon. I don't think they give a shit about Elise and her feelings and how badly Ramona's treated her. I think they're just excited to see somebody else lay into Ramona. But it is a bit like seeing a lamb go to the slaughter. And of course, Ramona gives us some half-assed apology that's about as, genuine as Kim Richardson's boob. And then Elise goes, oh, okay, great, fine, now we'll be friends. And then Ramona goes, oh, you're a bit heavy. Fucking hell. This woman just can't help herself, can she?
No, she can't. I definitely think we see Ramona the apologizer in this episode. And then she turns it on a dime and just, it's uncomfortable for me to watch Ramona treat Elise this way, because it's just bullshit. It's like, you don't want to be her friend. Like, you do use her as the friend that you can go to when you're not feeling great about yourself to like lift you up. But then the minute you're up, you fucking drop her, and you believe that you are her entry into this whole world, and it is fucking all about you.
No, her narcissism knows no boundaries. But also Dorinda's a twat as well, because Dorinda's like, oh, I hate Ramona, she's been a bitch, blah, blah, blah. And then in 5 minutes completely undermines Elise and goes, well, we're always going to be mates. It's Ramona. I love her. It's fine. It's great. The irony with those two is that I genuinely think that Ramona has got Dorinda right on. Dorinda is grieving Richard for the first time. I think everything that Ramona assesses about Dorinda is correct. And I think it's right the other way around. I think everything Dorinda assesses about Ramona is spot on.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that neither of them can turn that astuteness on themselves.
Right. Or even have a conversation, the two of them. Like, this is how I feel like you're acting. This is what I see in you. Like, let's help each other work through all this shit.
Yeah. Rather than just bitching and moaning about each other behind each other's back. Dorinda is literally, I do think she's on a crazy train to somewhere at the moment. She does need to work through some shit.
Yeah.
But it isn't really Ramona or Dorinda who behave despicably this episode.
Fucking drunk Luann is back, man.
She is back with a fucking bang.
It made my heart break to see Sonia cry, because Sonia is sweet and fun and ultimately does not wish harm on anyone. She's never been harmful to anybody on these shows. She's just fun. She's fun. Sonia
doesn't have a mean bone in her body.
No.
She can be thoughtless and she can be selfish, but she's not got a malicious bone in her body. And also, she's got a really good point. Like, she should be paid for the work she's doing in the show. Like,
yes.
all right, Luann doesn't need her, but she wants her, so pay for her.
I mean, $200, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I made more as a teenage babysitter.
$225, but let's be clear, it's not enough. Like, it is not enough. And I think it's disgusting that Luann responds in the way that she responds. And of course, it's the wine talking.
Absolutely. Wine and Luann should not be friends. They need to break up.
She loves the wine, but the wine does not love her.
No, it's a very dysfunctional relationship. And the dark, like the jump from like happy, fun Luann to like fucking dark and destructive Luann is 1 second.
It was blink of an eye.
Yeah.
It was blink of a fucking eye. Like somebody just brought up how much she's being paid, and Luann went batshit crazy, and she did because she knows she's wrong. She's being defensive, and that's what she does. But the things that came out of her mouth was so like this wasn't just we're having a fight about it.
No.
The viciousness. She called Sonia worthless, talentless. Like
she set the relationship on fire. She set the relationship on fire. She just burned the fucking bridge like immediately. And Sonia has been there through all of this sobriety, the sober journey that she's been on. She's always been very thoughtful, considerate, supportive, not judgmental. And the shit, like the deepest, darkest depths that Luann went to say that shit was fucking shocking.
Well, and I think we're starting to realize, I think we always knew, that this sobriety journey, and I am putting that in inverted commas, because I don't think Luann really ever committed to this sobriety beyond her need to do it for parole or whatever it was. Yeah. And I think that it is no surprise that she is immediately slipping back into this. And I really hope that and maybe this needed to happen for her to know that she has to do it for her rather than because of her parole terms. But the minute she is drunk, she is vicious. And it was upsetting to watch her speak to somebody like that.
Absolutely. And be so up her own ass about it. Like I wrote, Luann's diva is showing, like her drunk diva is showing. And I hope you're right. Like I hope she watches this and sees the like immediate transformation of herself into this person who is disgusting.
I do too, but you could see it, like her face went ugly. You could see it in her eyes. We haven't seen that face on Luann for so long. And, Luann sober is still self-righteous and kind of, a snob and all of that. But at least she isn't impulsive. She's so much more kind of control, and she's not reactionary. Yeah. And the wine meant that she was immediately reactionary. And the things she said, man, if I was Sonia, I don't know if I could forgive that shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it genuinely took Sonia off guard. And I think that's why, like, we see her cry so much on camera, because I don't feel like we've ever seen that before. And I think it was a genuine shock of what Luann said to her and the way she was treating her. And, just gross, man.
It was not nice. It was not nice at all. And obviously next week we'll pick up with Luann's hangover and we'll see how that rolls out. But I really hope that Sonia and the other girls hold her to task. And Dorinda has a responsibility here, because Dorinda was egging Luann on when it came to the drinking. Right at the beginning after her parole finish, she was like, come on, you can drink. You never had a drinking problem. Let's just be clear. Drinking problem isn't always I wake up and need a bottle of vodka for breakfast. The drinking problem is, do you know what? Drinking makes me into a real dick. And therefore I shouldn't do it. And I think that's what we're seeing with Luann.
Yeah, I unfortunately, like with clips for next week, I don't think there's going to be any sort of nice chat or realization. I feel like in some of the clips we saw, like Dorinda shouting at Luann again about like her drunken mugshot. So I feel like more relationships are just going to be burnt to the ground. So we'll see.
Well, it's always boring when they get on. So
that's true.
That's what we're here for. We're here to discuss other people's terrible behavior.
Very, very true. And I think with that, we have come to an end. Thank you guys so much for spending this time with us.
Yeah, thank you as ever. And remember, as Reagan said at the beginning, rate and review if you can. It means the world to us. And, feel free to send us an email. Say hi. Yeah. Nobody really emails us apart from Patreon and Apple charts email us occasionally.
That's
But
true.
we like, real people in our inbox. Just say hi. We might even read some of them out.
I think we 100% would read them out. Send
absolutely
them your way. Remember, you can send them to hey@tvmyhusbandhates.com, or I believe we've got a contact form on our website as well. Just send it there. No harm, no foul.
I mean, give that a shot. I don't think anybody's tested that out yet, so it'd be good to know if that works.
There you go.
But listen, have a great week. We will be back as ever next week. And in the meantime, remember,
Smart people watch reality TV too. Bye-bye.
bye.
Please subscribe, rate, and review TV My Husband Hates wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at TV My Husband Hates and join the Facebook group to keep the conversation going when the podcast ends. If Twitter's your thing, you'll find us at TV Husbands Hate. Theme music and production for TV My Husband Hates is by Jimmy Sims.